Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Woking Works webinar on remote working, IT security and mobility. Very pleased to say that we're joined by Shahid Azim, the Managing Director of Arcom IT and a Woking Works partner. So, working from home has taken on a new dynamic and new challenges. Whereas before we tried to keep work and home life separate, in many cases this is no longer possible. A lot of questions have been come up during the pandemic about IT and security, as a lot of people have been working from home. Questions such as how do we manage this big increase of people working from home from an organizational point of view? How do we stay operational in a virtual world? How secure is my data when working from home? These questions and others will be answered by Shahid. Over to you, Shahid.
Thank you, Chris. Well, first of all, just a background. Arcom IT been established for 20 odd years. We offer business continuity, disaster recovery, and with this COVID situation, literally today's my first day back in the office after 104 days of actually working from home. I'm only in home today because of the lockdowns changed. People have been working from home for a long time, I think, because this has now been forced onto people of the government's legislation. What we found out is that where people are all cynical about people working from home, thinking there probably might be, the productivity won't be there might be some other challenges. But I think people have adjusted really, really well to it. I think to the extent now that the challenge is going to be is that how you're going to get this work balance, life balance together, where you're going to, is there now opportunity to actually doing 1 or 2 days from home and 2 or 3 days in the office. These are people might not be, face-to-face type organizations they're based in. So that's the beauty of it. You can work from home. I certainly believe there's more productivity involved in working from home. I think it's great for the environment. I think there's more people put more effort into it. I think they put more hours into it, and the quality of life, I think, is also is there. So, I'm for one, I'm endorsing people working from home. I think but then that comes with a lot of challenges, because you are when in psychological world, you're in the office, everybody thinks everything's in lockdown, all the information is in the office, and suddenly you're now taking this information away from the office into a different environment, and you're in a completely different environment. That you're actually sitting at home, you're in a different comfort zone than you are in your office, and it's how you behave, how you react, how you deal with things, and that's the challenge. So if I can share my screen, and then we can just go through that. So let me just pop in there. So the agenda will include remote working, productivity, general, and security. And let's, so let's go to productivity. So one of the most important thing to have at home is make sure you've got a decent broadband connection. And when you start using broadband at home, don't forget there's other people might also be using your broadband, including your other iPhones or iPads or SkyQ. So again, they all be using that bandwidth. So you've got to make sure that you've got a decent broadband connections at home. Again, at home, make sure you can do these tests called speed tests. If you go on Google, you can do a speed test and see what sort of bandwidth connectivity you got, up and down speeds on there. Then again, the area you're working from, make sure that you've got an area that's actually that is your area. You've got your company documentations or paperwork, but an area where you don't get a lot of interruptions and background noise. So again, make sure it's a nice sort of working environment there for you. Again, I think it's important when you're at home, making sure that you actually take a break as well, from being in front of the screen, because you are sometimes on your own at the time at home. So make sure you get some activities, move around, and get away from the screen as well. Again, I'm going to state the obvious. Make sure things like the environment is safe. Things like the screens, the power cables, the charging points, you've got good ventilations, you know, you're not tripping over any hazardous stuff there as well. So again, that's important. I suppose the other important thing is to make sure you've got make sure you've got good posture, sitting down in the right environment, make sure you're not sitting on a sofa, leaning back. So again, if you sat on there for a long time, you could end up with back problems and that sort of thing. So again, make sure you've got a good working environment. That's vital. Generally, as I say, just make sure, you know, you haven't got kids and youngsters roaming around, interrupting, dropping, you know, tea on your keyboard or anything else like that. So that's important. Make sure it is your private area. I'm going to state the obvious. When at home, make sure you stay hydrated, drink water, plenty of fluids. Again, know when to switch off. And sometimes when you're home, you know, sometimes you might start at 7 o'clock and you could be still working at 11 o'clock and you stop in between. So again, trying to be more focused on the hours you put in, and, you know, there's, you know, that's again important that you don't get too much involved in working all the hours there. Sometimes, oh God, that came up at 11 o'clock at night, you start typing in emails and that sort of thing. Again, I know, make sure that you are coping well, because sometimes people might want a lot, you know, interactions with other people, sort of human beings around there at home. Make sure that you have that interactions. Again, if you're not keeping, you know, if you are sort of challenging, but make sure you let people know that if you have some challenges within your with your own company or HR department. Again, you know, another problem you could end up is that if your internet goes down, you might start panicking. You know, you might have a presentation to make. Again, make sure you've got some form of connectivities, whether, again, depends where you live, whether you can use your mobile phone as part of your connection to connect to the internet, because that's, again, if you haven't got no connections, you start panicking, you feel frustrated, and that brings on more pressure again. So always be prepared that you've got some backup for your connection. So again, make sure we've got that in place. The biggest challenge when you're working from home is about security. And when I talk about, and the security is, you know, and there's so much activities coming on now from outside world on hackers, you know, emails, fake informations, NH notices, trace and tracks, people selling you, you know, lots of different products, and really trying to hack into your system. Again, make sure, or these emails that come in, just make sure they're genuine, verify them, check them. There's always emails coming around where people might say, well, transfer money from here, look like they're coming from internal department. But again, make sure you double check and triple check, make sure that goes there. Again, malicious links and emails from websites. Again, I'm not sure what some people have. If your company laptop, make sure that, or company devices, they are company devices and not for personal use. Don't get them mixed up. Make sure that your data is your personal data is away from your business data. So make sure that the two don't mix. That's also vital. If things don't work, I'm sure you got your, you know, IT department or somebody within the IT person contact there. Always trying to go through the official channels, because you're still following the procedures of actually connecting. You know, it looks like you are in your office, but more importantly, though you might be remotely, make sure you go to the right person to get it fixed. Confidential information has to remain confidential. And when you're at home, you know, if you've got broadband, I'm sure everybody's got the password to the Wi-Fi. Again, make sure that you protect your Wi-Fi. Passwords aren't given to anybody. And with things that you've got at home, things like smart TVs, you know, Alexa, that, believe it or not, you're always transmitting information. Again, make sure you're away from those. Make sure that network is separate from your work network. So that's important. So whereas possible, keep away from the, you know, smart TVs, gaming consoles, Alexas, and all of that side area as well. So that, you know, that the security is absolutely vital. Passwords. Make sure you change your passwords regularly on your routers. You know, that, and then you guys are using them. And you know, some protocols on working on, on Zoom calls, meetings. Make sure your personal stuff, because when you've got cameras behind you, in front of you, you've got information around the house. You might have some fantastic painting worth hundreds of £1,000s. You want to make sure that you don't show anything that either create a background into your profile, but hide anything that's not that you don't want to see, and make sure you don't exploit any other family members into your communication, because you don't know who's on because you don't know who's going to be on those calls, that even though it could be a big group call. So make sure the occupants of the house are unknown there. Again, the online meetings, whereas possible, make sure you lock those meetings down. And review the people that are on your meeting. By all means, check who's on there. Just don't let any, so it depends who organises it, but it's always worth checking who's on those meetings. Again, the important thing is making sure all your IT equipment is up to date on viruses, antivirus, patches. They're the biggest. If you haven't updated those when these machines are vulnerable, there haven't been the new releases of patches come up. They haven't been updated, so make sure you update those. Wherever possible, please don't share your work computer with your household members. That's one way of introducing different forms of viruses coming into the machines and that sort of thing. So wherever it's possible, make sure that people don't use your work PC for your home life. Again, installing games and things like that carries huge, significant risk to your data and particularly your company data. So, you might have children that want to load a game to play on. Don't load those, because these systems belong to the company, working from home, and that's a property of the company. The data is a property of the organization. But also remember that the systems that you have on your laptop or your remote working, they are monitored, and any personal searches, and if you're looking for a job or anything like that, they are entitled to look at what sort of the sites that you've been on, because again, they belong to the company and the company has those logs to them. So again, be very, very careful what sites you go on to. And that would be the normal process, that if you're in your own office environment, that fact that you might be at home doesn't make any difference. You're still working for the company. So really, security is the biggest problem from working from home. I think, but if you follow some of these basic rules from working from home, that will help a better quality of life. I think it's the world. Personally, my opinion, the world's moving. I think there'd be a lot more people working remotely now. I think that it was forced on everybody. People had it for 3 months, and I think it's been pretty productive. And I think, but the work-life balance is very, very important. Make sure that you do have your breaks, but again, make sure that you follow the process of the company's process and procedures, and the health and safety is paramount as well. Okay.
Fabulous. Do you want to stop sharing that screen? So Shahid, thank you very much for that. I appreciate the complexity of IT and home working, and I've got to be honest, even for myself, it's quite a challenge sometimes to get microphones working at home, get Zoom working at home, logging on to the VPN, virtual networks to access work data, and the support that you need from your organization is critical at this point. We've been had some questions submitted, and if I could ask you a few of those, if I may.
Sure.
So we're considering adopting more home working post-lockdown, but some employees are saying we need to provide office furniture such as chairs and desks and pay for their home internet connection. We're happy to provide company laptops, but feel providing furniture and paying for their internet might be a bit much. Do you think, is this something a company needs to now take into consideration?
There is, I think you are entitled to £250 from part of tax rebate. You need to talk to your accountant. People working from home, you can get up to £254 per annum for using the internet or environment. I think the company has to provide you with a safe working environment from home. Now, just share with you, we've got as you know, I run another company called Folio 3. We had 320 people in Pakistan working, and they suddenly had to work from home. And in Pakistan, they don't have this concept, people from working from home. So they ended up with working from sofas and that. So they ended up with back problems, sort of lack of exercise, and it just wasn't the right environment. So we actually either said you can actually either take the chairs from the office home, or we bought chairs for them. So I think, as an employer, you do have to provide that environment for them. So there are some advantages. I think there's, as I say, £250 from tax rebate type form. But I think you do have to make sure that the work environment is right for your staff.
And of course, that's only if you ask people to work from home. You could also say it's voluntary, and therefore you're not obliged so much, because you could say you can come into the office where we do provide the desks and the chairs, etc. So I think it's going to be a bit more of a negotiation between employer and employee on that one. But yes, there are tax implications if companies, do expense claims for internet provision and that sort of thing. So it's not always in the best interest of the employee. Got another question. My team have been working from home since lockdown, and I'm worried that with all of them working remotely, are we still GDPR compliant, as they could, if they wanted to, save data on local machines or devices such as memory sticks? I want them to be able to work easily, but we need to ensure legally our client data is secure when in employee homes. That's a question around security. How do we keep personal data secure in a home environment?
I think, as I said earlier on in the brief presentation, was that the data, the systems are no different if you're working from home. It is a company property. You shouldn't use your laptop or your devices for anything other than company personal use. Again, using like USB keys, anything like that. In reality, if somebody wanted to take data from the office, unless you lock everything down and disable all the USB keys, it's very, very difficult to monitor that even at home. But I think, as long as it's got in writing that they agree that the company, the laptop, and creating that policy about using devices at home and out office, that and the process, they have to have that. The staff have to follow that process, and if they don't do that, then obviously that's something that the HR people might have to take up with them. But again, don't forget the fact that you might be working from home. You're actually employed by the company. The fact that you choose to work, or the company decided you want to work from home, it's irrelevant. You are employed by the company, and the data belongs to the company.
Okay. We've used various conference call software, whether it be Zoom, that became very popular overnight suddenly, MS Teams, GoToMeeting, Cisco, etc. How secure are these systems? We've read in the press that Zoom had security problems, but no one really understood what security issues you have around using these sorts of systems.
Well, no system is foolproof. Doesn't matter. Once you've got connection to the internet, if people can hack into NASA and anywhere else, I'm sure that if you want to get into there. But I think for the key point about the Zoom would be is make sure you configure it correctly. The links are not shared in public forums. PIN numbers are enabled, so you've got to type the PIN number in. So only people who got that PIN number can get into that sensitive meetings. And you're keeping tab on people who are joining in there. Whether you can actually refuse. Use your own laptops will depend on the types of equipment you have in contract. Usually the company cannot force you to use your personal equipment. So again, I think it comes down to using the company's PCs. They have the lockdown, have the process in there. And when you do Zoom, likes of Zoom meetings or webinars or whatever, make sure it's locked down, but somebody's controlling those, they're managing those, and actually get to the extent of not sharing those links in public forum, but more importantly, also use the PIN numbers as well. That comes with it, that you can use that PIN to dial in as well.
Cool, thank you. I think we've pretty much covered most of the topics and questions that we've been submitted. Well, can I just say a very big thank you to Shahid for providing us with these tips and advice on remote working today. And we look forward to welcoming you to the next Woking Works webinar in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you.